We are recording. Tony, how are you, sir?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome, my brother. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. It seems like you are now attuning the whole population of Hamilton. Every time I look at there's more and more people coming in for attunement. That's awesome. I love it. I think it's a necessary thing, especially nowadays. I think it's really important. And we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, Tony, just give me a little bit about your background as far as what you're doing right now, because you are so interesting. Amazing acupuncturist, by the way, too, as well. I'll just throw that out there. But just give us a little bit of background to the listeners listening to this on Anchor, please.
All right. So my story basically is 27 years ago, my wife and I, we lost our first daughter. And it set me, I became really depressed. I lost my health. I was like just on a stream of antibiotics, like for 3 straight years maybe. And then I developed heart problems and I had to quit this job that I loved. And I was like at the rock bottom. And I thought there's gotta be something more to life than what they're telling us. And so I remember that I dragged myself off the couch and I walked down to this little donut store in Dundas, Ontario. And I met someone that I used to work with, and she looks at me and she goes, "You look like crap." I go, "Thank you." And she hands me this flyer and it says Reiki on it. And honestly, normally I would have laughed. Like I was in the business world. I had no idea what this energy stuff was, but I was so far down. I thought I'll try anything. And I went the next day and she did this stuff on me and I felt like something move inside me. It was like so cool. And then I walked outside and the leaves, everything was like in slow motion. I was like, wow. And so that was the first thing that led me to believe that there's something more out there. And so I still stayed in the financial world for years after that. It took me a long time to regain my health. And my wife kept saying, "Man, you haven't slept for like a decade. You should be doing this Reiki thing." Because I had been taking the Reiki, learning, studying it, practicing it. You should be doing that full time. So eventually I left the financial gig. I went back to school for acupuncture. Learned traditional Chinese medicine, which is awesome. I got to study with a Medical Qigong Master for a number of years, which was really, really important to me. He just passed away earlier this year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
Yeah, it was like, ever since we lost our kid, I don't really get fazed by death much, but he just seemed like there was like a light taken from us early. It was strange. So, I think about him and, you talk about doing all the attunements and the trainings. Before COVID, I was actually wondering, should I just stop training? Because it just seemed like a hassle trying to get groups of people together. And one of my mentors, my Daoist priest, said to me, he said, your mentor, your Medical Qigong Master, he passed his flame along to you. And you got to keep passing it along.
Jeez, I just felt goosebumps when you said that, man. Wow. Yeah. That's so true. Like, yeah, he nailed it right on the head right there for sure.
So since COVID, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do one-on-one trainings. I'd never done it before. I had no idea how it would go, but they're so freaking powerful. Like you can just delve in and get in deep with people. That's been amazing. And, lately I've had like a mother and 2 daughters come and then best friends, but it's all either just individual or just small groups right now. And it's really cool. So that was my mission over the last 27 years. I've just been learning. I said, I'm studying with a Daoist priest now for the last couple of years and learning ways to calm the mind. And it's just been an amazing journey. And so my wife and I, we run a healing energy and wellness center in Hamilton. And it's like a dream. Like I found this place that's kind of hidden at the back of a building. And like at the first, the layman was like scary looking, right?
A little sketch, eh?
Yeah, but they painted like some butterflies on it and put some lights. And so all I would say is I am blessed and I love what I do. And I'm really, really honored and thankful to be on here with you today because you're a pretty cool dude.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, kind of kindred spirits in that sense too, as well, because my introduction to Tony was basically at the student clinic. I was basically one of his guinea pigs, and me being in energy myself, working with energy, I was certainly glad that of all the students there, and now not knocking any of your students, your fellow students, but I am very grateful that you were, but it's like the universe kind of set you up for that. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
you know, and I walked in, like, just from that, walking in that building, the relationships I built with yourself and Lana and everybody else, it's just, you know, that's the whole universe bringing stuff together. And yeah, amazing acupuncturist. Definitely love that. So I want to go back to the understanding of the energy systems. Now, giving your understanding of energy and what's happening, and then you can go back to where your illness start, because I want to kind of show people, or tell people, you know, how illnesses start, how things happen, and how you can basically look at using energy and how that shift changed your overall health. So, you know, you kind of went from this tragic moment, like this really deep, literally heartbreaking moment in your life. And then through the energy, you started developing a system to help yourself heal better. And I wanted to know if you can talk about that, because I mean, now you have a really deep understanding of energy. So if there's somebody out there who's, you know, suffering from a traumatic incident, like, I mean, a lot of people out there,
Mhm.
kind of walk through the process of how you've kind of formulated your treatment system on that.
Sure. And as you said, right now, you know, with COVID, and everybody that comes in the clinic is so drained. Like, everybody's so anxious and so depressed and stuck and worried. And it takes me back to how I felt. I felt like the Walking Dead. Like, I felt like a zombie. I basically felt nothing. I had to watch like shows that I would never normally watch, like The Sopranos and different things, because at least they made me feel like anger. Like, I could dig into the anger and stuff. But
Just
that
to
was
feel
all,
something.
yeah. And so I can really emphasize with people sort of when they come in and they just say they feel drained. So the first experience I had with energy was that I felt something move in my body. I didn't know what it was. And I actually went to my Reiki master back then, like 26 years ago. She's a beautiful soul. She lived out in the country in Millgrove. I remember I had to drive down this country road, and I could feel her energy. Like, I could feel it as I was driving down the road. And afterwards, I felt like I could like shoot energy out of my palms. Like, it was so cool. And I probably went to her for like about a year every week. Like, that's how drained I was. Every Sunday,
Wow.
I said, pencil me in. And then she gave me chocolate chip cookies afterwards. So
Maybe that's what it was. She had some secret magic in those cookies, eh?
could be. It could be. But really, what opened up my understanding was when I went to acupuncture school and started learning traditional Chinese medicine, and learned about things like liver qi stagnation. So in traditional Chinese medicine, each of the organs is associated with emotions. And so emotions can affect the organs, or a disease in the organs can affect the emotions. So what I learned was I had all this anger, mostly anger, but also a lot of sadness that was trapped inside me, trapped inside my muscles, inside my energetic body, that I didn't really realize. So liver qi stagnation is the anger is associated with the liver. And so if someone gets really angry, it stagnates, it stops. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
A needle here, a needle there.
Yeah.
It stops the energy from moving in your body. And so if I have all this anger and it can't flow, the only way for it to go is up. And I remember back in those days, I played golf with my brother-in-law. So my wife's Filipino, right? And her
Okay.
family is the most awesome family in the world. And her dad is like the most laid back dude, right? He's not tall. Every single shot, right down the middle of the fairway, perfect. And he was always, nothing would ever fluff him. And I'm hitting the ball and it's going in the woods and I'm swearing. And I remember one time I teed off on the 10th tee. It went like that. I walked halfway down the fairway. I threw down my clubs. I sat down. I said, that's it. I'm done. I can't golf anymore. I was too frustrated. Like, that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And so when I went to school and I learned about this, they taught me how to release the energy that was stuck. And that was the first time I'd ever really heard of it like that. So, we did some acupuncture, we did some energy to release the stuck energy in my liver area, and then in my lungs, which is associated with sadness. And all of a sudden I felt like I could breathe, and I just started transforming. It was really amazing. So all the energy work I had done was great. It helped release and move stuff, but it was when I really learned how all those things went together that
Yeah.
for
The
me,
association of it.
Yeah, that was the icing on the cake. And that was when I had been transforming. And then there was a huge leap.
Yeah.
And from then on, it's just been a miracle. So when I teach Reiki now, I always teach some TCMs, which is traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, different things that I found that impacted me huge in my life. I figure they got to know that stuff,
Oh
because
my,
most people who start Reiki, sorry, I'm talking too much. Most people who start Reiki, they're like on a healing journey themselves. I don't
yes.
think people get in it to heal others. It's to heal themselves.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've learned from Reiki is it's the most important to start with yourself. That's the journey. You know, when I first started, doing Reiki, it was like, okay, I need to get myself fixed. I don't care what happens. And I really didn't take the process of doing it. It's like, okay, I want level 1, I want level 2, I want level 3. But there's that process where you got to go through. I just wasn't allowing myself to heal on that. And I really commend you on that, because this is one of the things I struggled with Reiki and teaching Reiki too as well through my own clinical practice, is that there's a lot of stuff that's not talked about and not learned about that, especially with the TCM is so key and so crucial, because there's a lot of stuff about stuck emotions, which is so key to overall health and wholeness. Like, you put your hands on somebody, you're putting that energy in there, but what's actually really happening? It's just like, okay, but there's all those stuck emotions. And that's what I found in my practice, is I found so many people having such deep releases. They had such stored energy of that emotion, which is stuck in those particular organs. It's really, really important. And I think that's what fundamentally, I mean, I love Reiki. I think it was fantastic. It's basically sent me on my journey, and I think it's fantastic. But those small little details, it's just that we need to have a better understanding and a better system of teaching Reiki, which I really commend you on, because that system itself, it's not flawed. I hate this, and I don't want to be kind of break down Reiki, but there's just some lacking stuff. And that information that you provide is so, so crucial, which I really found. So I commend you on that.
Well, thanks. It's just, I just feel I'm teaching things that I learned along my journey, that my mentors, like I've had some amazing mentors that they taught me. And so it's a pleasure to be able to share some of that stuff with people, because as you said, it is important. And when I think back to when you first came into the acupuncture school and you were my guinea pig,
Yes,
I,
I was.
man is looking over me, okay, try this, try here. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you helped me learn so much. Like, you're actually a huge reason for why I'm able to do what I'm able to do. Like, I think of so many
Wow.
students who would never have had the opportunity to have someone like you who came consistently, and I could see the transformation, and it was amazing. So I'm so thankful to you. And when you
Oh,
asked me to be on this podcast, I was like, in a heartbeat, baby, I'll do anything for you. I'm so appreciative.
oh my God. You just make me want to cry, brother. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It was, uh, it was, yeah, see, I'm lost for words now. Usually that doesn't happen too often because I speak for a living, but you got me a little emotional here. But yeah, I mean, your technique and your willingness to learn it was like I said, it was like it was meant to be. Like, when I walked in that clinic, it was the perfect person that you had. Like, your willingness to understand, but take it outside the box too as well, which I commend you on too, because when you get into a system, any school system, there's basically a box. You got to kind of follow the rules and with that, and you kind of expanded on that. And I think myself, I felt comfortable enough to allow to myself to really kind of go deep and say, okay, listen, this is my shit. This is what's going on. Like, I was afraid, but I wasn't afraid that, hey, I got some emotional issues. I got some stuff going on here that, allowed me. But your willingness to kind of go, okay, let's figure this out, which really tremendously helped me. And that's one thing I love about acupuncture. I love energy in general, but I know for anybody who's listening to this, I really want to say, if you're afraid of needles, please, please just throw that out the window. Acupuncture, I have to say it won't save your life, but it will transform your life in ways you'll never, ever realize. And I know that's for myself, and I miss it. When I don't have energy work and I don't have acupuncture, I miss it. My body's going, dude, okay, you got some stuff messed up. You need to get that going. And I'm so aware of it. And that's the great thing about doing energy work is you get so aware of your energy systems. Like, I talk about the liver, when all of a sudden I started to get a little more angry, a little more irritable, and I realized, yeah, liver's not working. But then that's also too, is like, I'm eating crap too, as well. And that's going to affect my liver too, so I mean, I thank you so much. I mean, I'm not going to blow too much smoke up your ass. I don't make, but
Keep going, man. I don't hear it at home.
yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But I really want to talk to you too, as well, about medical Qigong and Reiki. What is really the difference of that? Because you're studying that now. Was that because of your training in acupuncture you went to Qigong, or is it just wanted something a little bit different? How'd that kind of work out, and what's the difference between the two?
That's a great question. And I actually, there was an acupuncturist I went to years ago for my kids in Grimsby, Christopher Cole. If you're out in Grimsby area, go check him out. He's awesome.
A shout out to Christopher.
Healthy me. But so we took our kids there for sciatica. And I remember my youngest daughter, she's a little nervous, but she got on because she was like big into sports. And she got off the table and she's like, wow, yeah, it's gone. I was like, holy crap. And I said to myself, that guy, that's what I should be doing. Right. So that's kind of what inspired me to get into acupuncture. And at the same time, he said, I did a little medical Qigong on her, and I didn't know what the heck that was, but it sounded cool. So I started looking into it, and that was years ago. So I actually started learning medical Qigong before I learned acupuncture. But the thing that I found is everything is connected. Everything is energy. And the thing that kills me, so when I first went to one of the acupuncture schools in Toronto, and they had this medical Qigong guy come in from the States. And I remember talking to him and I'm saying, oh yeah, I do Reiki, I'm a Reiki Master. Oh, Reiki, right? And he's like looking down on it. Oh, all right. And then later on, I'm talking to some Reiki masters. And I said, yeah, I'm learning medical Qigong. And they're looking down on it. And it's hilarious. And what I've learned is that everything's just energy. Like Qigong, yoga, like Tai Chi, acupuncture, it's all just energy.
Yeah, I find that a lot too as well. It's like, okay, what system did you study? Oh, I studied Sui. So, oh, I studied Corona. I studied this thing. I studied this. And it's like, oh my Lord. It's like I just want to shake my head. It's like, okay, yeah. But I hear you on that. Yeah.
A quick story about that in egos and politics and Reiki, right?
Yes, there's a lot of that.
When I first started Reiki, my Reiki master, the most beautiful, she's like an older lady, so sweet, right? Mm-hmm. And she had a best friend, and they belong to two different Reiki organizations. And I'm not putting down Reiki organizations if you're in a Reiki organization, right?
Yes.
They belong to two, and they had this political clash, and they stopped being friends. Wow. And that was my first introduction to Reiki organizations and politics in Canada. And so since then, I've never belonged to one. I'm not saying, I mean, probably if you feel the need to, that's awesome. They're probably great. That one thing just sort of, stained me for life. But yeah. So everything's, and again, I'm not citing, I'm just saying that one experience I had just never really motivated me, because to me, Reiki is just love, right? Like there's no right and there's no wrong. There's no black and white in Reiki.
Exactly.
Like when I talk to my students, like I say, listen, you're a yoga instructor, right? And you've got these experiences that no one else has. I don't have them. I don't know how to do, this yoga pose and stuff. So when you teach Reiki, that's going to come out from you, that experience, that background. You could try to be me, but don't, because it won't work. You got to be you. So I always say day one of Reiki 1, I say, let's say there's 4 people in the room. I say, we could have 4 strangers walking off this street. We could each one of us give them a treatment, and each one of them could be connected stronger to each one of us. So it doesn't matter. Like, you just go out and be you, and you're going to draw who you need to draw. I believe that.
Well said. Well said. That's so true. I so believe that too as well. It's fantastic. So, all right, if you had to describe the difference between medical Qigong and Reiki, so if somebody's interested in those two types of fields, whether it's Reiki or Qigong, could you just kind of maybe describe, like, okay, what's the difference? What's some of this? Obviously, they're both energy work, but what's the subtle differences between the two?
Okay. Thank you for bringing me back on track there.
No problem. It's kind of my job.
Reiki is promoted as a very intelligent, universal energy. So in theory, you could put your hands on someone's head for an hour and the energy would just flow in the body wherever it needs to go. So it's not, you know, you learn the different hand positions. And I teach people obviously intuitively to scan the body and just sort of feel what's up. But there's no desire to move energy or lead energy. It's just kind of being there and letting the energy go and do what it needs to do. And that's why it's safe for anybody and everybody to do. All you need is a clear intention of love, and the Reiki energy will flow and it can do no harm.
So it has its own intelligence, right? It does its own thing.
Yes, yeah, because it's guided by the divine. However you want to say it. I don't want to offend anybody because everybody's so easily offended these days. I'll just say by.
Yeah, yeah. So if we say the G word, you know, but divinely inspired, I like that too. The infinite potential source, however you ever want to call it. Yeah, it's coming from a higher place of love. That's the best way I like to describe it too. But all right, so that's Reiki. All right, medical or Qigong in general, or medical Qigong
is part of traditional Chinese medicine. So it's much older. It's much older because Reiki just started in Japan, like in, you know, in the 1900s. Traditional Chinese medicine, medical Qigong, started much older, and it was like the Daoist masters and the Daoist priests that were teaching these things. And so it's very steeped in TCM. So when I started my medical Qigong course, you know, and there's different levels until I eventually got to master, part of the initial stuff was learning traditional Chinese medicine. Now, luckily, when I started taking that course, I was already in acupuncture school. And so I'd already sat through the classes and like going, what did she say? What language are you speaking, right? And so for me, it seemed okay. I knew that some of my classmates were overwhelmed when they're going through the meridians and, you know, all, because you have to learn a bunch of acupuncture points, etc. So medical Qigong is much more specifically focused. So we'll work on a specific organ. I'll move energy in a certain direction. I'll release it or I'll add it. You know, I'll charge different things. So it's much more driven with intention, a specific intention to do something. And so, but in the end, it is just energy, but it is very different. And so when I teach some of the things I teach, because I do teach some medical Qigong when I do the Reiki trainings, I only teach the very basic stuff that people can't go wrong with. Because if you start trying to move energy in specific directions and it's going to go against the grain of the meridian or something and actually further aggravate the problem, you got to be careful of that.
Yeah. So it's very, very meridian specific in general. So when let's say you're looking at, like, as far as Reiki goes, it's going to go where it needs to go. So whether it's the first center, second center, it's got to go to your heart, wherever it goes where it needs to go. So you can, like you said, place your hands on the head. It's going to go, let's say you got a foot problem. It's going to go to your foot. So there's really no harm there's no wrong way to do it. But Qigong, the medical Qigong, is very specific, and it's moving the energy specifically blocked in the meridians.
It could be in the meridians. It could be the organs. It could be anything. So one of the basics of a treatment when I do is I'll treat the 5 element organs, right? I'll start with the heart, the fire. I'll move to the earth, the metal, the water, the wood. So I'll treat the heart, you know, the spleen, the lungs, the kidneys, the liver. So I'll move in the 5 element directions as I treat them. So, I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can do it. Again, there's really no particular right or wrong. You just sort of have to go with your intuition, but it's much more focused.
It's much more focused.
Particular areas of the body, if that makes sense.
Now, medical Qigong, is it a licensed practice or is it covered under? So let's say, for example, I'm doing Reiki, I become a master, and I'm kind of more interested in doing medical Qigong. Is medical Qigong, is it a licensed practice, or is it just something that's covered under your acupuncture license?
So that's an interesting question. And,
thanks.
You know, I'm never quite exactly sure how to answer things with the colleges and the boards, to be honest. My understanding is that, medical Qigong is part of traditional Chinese medicine. So it should be part of your license, like as an acupuncturist or a TCM practitioner who also does herbs. And I don't do herbs because I just don't have any interest in them. But the schools don't really teach much medical Qigong. Like I went outside the school and I found a master, and I would travel up to Pickering and spend weekends there in his basement with him, for a number of years.
Wow,
So
that's dedication. That's a
it
little bit of a drive.
was really intense.
Yeah.
It was really intense.
I'm sure there is, like, because I know there is insurance and for coverage for Reiki nowadays too as well. So I'm sure there is, insurance for medical Qigong if you want to just do that separately instead of going down to like a licensed acupuncturist too as well. So if you're interested in that too, I assume.
My last talk with the insurance companies was that you're not really supposed to call it medical Qigong.
Okay, so just Qigong.
Qigong, because the term medical. The year before, my policy covered medical Qigong. This year it covers Qigong.
Qigong. So it's just separating out. It's just that word medical, right? Everybody gets a little worried. It's like, you are not an MD. Like anything, like as soon as you don't have those letters in front of your or behind your name, they get all kind of weird stuff with that. I mean, I understand it. That's true. It's like, I talk to people who are like medical mediums. I say, yeah, it's probably not the best way. I mean, you can get away with it in certain areas, maybe in the States, stuff like that. But you always got to be kind of careful with those sort of things. But it's amazing the work that you're doing too as well. So now I got to ask you a question. Your wife is a osteopath too as well?
She is.
Yeah. So do you ever do combined treatments?
Do we do combined treatments?
Yeah.
That's a great question. So many of our clients will go and see Lisa first and then me second. And we do it that way on purpose because she kind of moves them around in a really gentle way. She's awesome. Yeah. She's got just the most amazing touch, right? And then afterwards, they'll come into my room and where they just, zone out and pass out.
Zone out, yeah. So what are some of the things that you're seeing in your practice that are more consistent? Like what certain diseases or ailments, I should say, that you kind of see more repetitive now lately? Is a lot of neck injuries? Is a lot of like stress disorders? Like what are you seeing in general coming through your practice?
So I consider my area of interest in treating people to be mostly mental, emotional things. I don't specifically ever target physical pain or something for people because I know there's a million great, amazing acupuncturists and they could go to any of them. I have an area where it's I can't say I specialize in it, but I have particular interest in it. So those are mostly the people that come to me. They'll often have pains. Now, before COVID, there was a wide range of everything from, feeling really drained and anxious to being like really angry. But since COVID, it's really changed. Pretty much everybody's just drained. Like everybody's just tired and lost and depressed and anxious. Anxiety is the number one by far anxiety. And the sad thing is that, I see parents and then they ask, can they bring their kids? And so many kids are anxious. And so I have a policy, like you can bring a kid, but you got to sit in the room with me. And you got to be there for the full treatment. And, there's been some really good results. And if you can do that without drugs, again, I'm not saying do medication or don't do medication. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea. But if you can do stuff without having to get drugs and have the kid just feel better, like that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So,
So I believe that.
Yeah. So everybody's tense here. Everybody's got stress here because they're hunched more over their computers now.
Tell me about it. That's the one thing. I'm always like this, and I got to force myself to kind of sit back in my chair because, it's like I'm getting all these rotator cuff issues because I'm like this kind of hunched over, and I had to get my whole system set up a little bit better, even my laptop, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I do see that. So let me just kind of pull my shoulders back here a bit.
Yeah, you gotta do that. So like when I see people in clinic, I only do energy the first session. It's I do a full intake and all I do is energy and I just scan their body and I get a sense for what's going on. And
So
then
So sorry to interrupt you. So this is prior. So somebody's coming to you for acupuncture. You actually don't start with the needles. You start with just energy work and just get moving that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of ease them in there, kind of get them like, okay, this is what energy is all about.
Right. Well, I think partly is to develop the energetic trust so that the body can fully relax. But I can diagnose a lot more. Um, like in traditional Chinese medicine, you take the pulse. Like you can't really do the tongues too easily these days, right? Because everybody's masked up.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm scanning the body and working with them and seeing what's stuck and what can release, I get a much better idea for what's going on. So that's how I always, like 99.9% of the time, do it that way. And then I'll say, so here I'll give them a longer questionnaire to fill in some blanks that I need. And I'll say, so moving forward, we could do more energy work. We could do cupping. We could try acupuncture, gua sha, just sort of seeing, you know, what they're attracted to. Because the fact is some people are afraid of needles. And there's no, like if they're on the table like this, like it's not going to do any good.
No.
You know, over the years, as you become more sensitive with energies, I know like I can do acupuncture without a needle. Like I can just condense the chi and activate that point just like this. So I don't feel like I need acupuncture needles. The reason I like them is I can leave them in a couple of really important points and leave them there for like the 40 minutes. And then I always do energy work through the whole session, regardless if they're doing acupuncture. I'll put the needles in, and then for the rest of the session, I don't leave. I'm always just doing energy on them to complement the needles.
That's going to be kind of taxing on you too, as well. I mean, in general too, because most times, like any system, any business, stuff like that, it's kind of like you want numbers to the door. And it's, I commend you on that because it's basically, I got to do the needles in here. I got to get the next guy. And then I got to do the needles in that guy. And then you just kind of have this rotating thing of just dropping needles in somebody, leaving them for 15, 20 minutes and get the next person in. So it's just rotating. It's just like this system of, and you see that in alternative health too, as well. It's not just in the medical field where it's like you get paid by the swipe. So it's like, okay, we got to get in, get out, 5-10 minutes, you're in, you're out. Like how many people can I get in per hour? So if you're spending that much time on an individual doing an extra treatment on that, I mean, that's beyond the norm. That's amazing. Cause I mean, cause I really don't know too many people who are going to spend that much time on an individual, unless it's specifically for energy work too, as well.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just doing what I feel I have to do. I can't see myself doing it any other way. And I'm not, everybody's got to do what they got to do. Everybody's got their own style. People have 3 rooms, and if they're great at that and getting great results, bless them. And that's what they should do. For me, I've learned, like I was already in the world where I was just I wanted to make money, right? And where did it lead me? It led me to illness and, all this kind of stuff. So I've been there, done that. I don't want to go back there. So my day, I see 5 people maximum in a day, because
Wow.
sometimes I'll do 6, but really that's all I want. And if I could just see 5 people a day, 5 or 6 days a week, I'd be super happy throwing some Reiki trainings. But I mean, I got to give my heart in every session. I don't know. So many sessions are like so emotional, right?
Oh my God. It's heart wrenching. Yeah, it literally is. That's why I commend you, because when you're especially dealing with the mental emotional aspects of that, and that's one of the things I've seen in my own practice. And then also I used to volunteer at the Cancer Support Center at Wellspring. So that was it was the most emotionally, physically, mentally draining thing I've ever experienced. It was just heartbreaking all the time. But to do that on that consistent level with dealing with those emotions, because that's really what it comes down to. What I was finding was the underlying source of the problems was the mental emotional problems that they're thinking, through. It's usually some type of trauma. I don't know if you've ever experienced it where you've kind of picked up on the trauma of the individual. Like usually sometimes, for most of it, from what I saw, was rooted in childhood trauma. You're seeing some really ugly stuff that kind of came up through that. And you're experiencing those emotions. They're releasing those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts, and those emotions. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. I mean, it's beautiful to see them finally releasing that energy. But from a practitioner's point, I mean, man, it's it took me a long time to recover from Reiki. For a long time, I stopped practicing it for a long time just because of that.
So luckily, I don't get that. I'll get tired if I don't eat enough during the day. So but I make sure that in between clients, I'm doing some qigong, do some meditation. I put my headphones on. I have my certain tracks that I listen to.
Yeah, you got some really funky taste in music. After kind of seeing that, it was interesting. I saw you on Facebook there. I was always like, I never heard of these guys. Where did these guys come from?
I'm stuck in the 80s mostly. All right, so
Hey,
80s.
I'm an 80s hair band guy. So listen, I love, rock and music. I mean, I love 70s classic rock, I love that, the Doors, things like that, and Zeppelin, kind of grew up with that stuff. But
That's too
yeah,
old for me, man.
sorry?
That's too old for me. I'm just in my 30s, early 30s.
Let me just pull up your bio really quickly, if I just remember correctly.
Yeah, I know. I turned 55 this summer, man, and
I
feel better than I felt for decades. Like,
yeah,
honestly,
you don't look it at all. You don't look it. And I have to say, you're really like, you've lost some good weight there. I seen you're out trucking away there on Facebook there, and your picture there. And it's like, I wanted to comment on you, but it's like, it's like, how do you comment? I want to say, call you skinny now.
Today, man, go ahead. Yeah, that's all good.
It's all like skinny. Like, I mean, it's like, where did Tony go there? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you're actually
camera angles, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's good lighting and makeup. That's my excuse. That's how I get away with it.
No, I'm blessed because, I have my wife Lisa. We'll be married for 30 years. Next year I have amazing kids, amazing. So I've been really blessed that way. So she's always been supportive. Whatever I've wanted to do, I've always been my biggest fan. And I realize that that's not the case with many places. So I'm really lucky, and so that's why I want to support others, because I've been blessed with support and I've been blessed with amazing mentors, and I also had the financial power that I could do it. Like I spent a lot of money going back to school for acupuncture and at the same time doing my medical qigong degree, while only working part-time. Like that's, after leaving a nice financial
Cushy
position,
job.
that was a change, but I didn't come here, for the money. So that's why when my sessions, I have a set rate, but I also just say, and if you're financially tight, just pay me what you can. And, people take advantage of that if they can. And some people give me more to support others that can't. Like it just balances out.
It balances out at the end. Yeah, I love that. So just briefly talk about, I know you're developing online courses. You're really inspiring people. You're out there motivating people every day. You're posting stuff like that. Just talk about a little bit about your program that you just launched it. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just give us a little close note on that.
I've tried to dabble in online stuff over the years because I kind of feel, when COVID hit and we had to close our clinic for 3 months, and that was a time when I felt people needed me the most, right? And we couldn't do anything. So I decided I made a course for energy workers during the COVID time. It's called Ignite Your Inner Energy. And it's just some of the things I learned for energy workers to help get their better. But the course I just made was a result of all my clients coming in just anxious and not sleeping. And yeah, they'll come into the clinic and I'll give them a great session, but then they have to go back in the real world and they can't come back for sessions every day, right? So I thought I want to just create something online that will teach them some of the basic fundamentals that they could do at home. So
nice.
I did just launch it. It's just like a 10-minute video each week, because the last course I had so much information kind of paralyzed people. So it's like a 10-minute video with some homework afterwards, and it will be dripped or released a little bit, a new one each week for 8 weeks. And the feedback from the first week has been really positive so far. And I'm going to share things on how to calm your mind. So a lot of it comes from my Daoist training right now, things to focus on, how to think, not to resist, to let go, just different things like that are, I'll do some breathing and meditation, just things that impacted me huge. And I just want people to be able to experience this. And then, so it's like a little community where they go in and they can access it whenever they want.
Nice.
I'm really excited because You know, and I'm making this course free. Like, it's totally free. I just
Really?
want
Wow.
anybody who wants to be able to access it, just to access it. And if you connect, that's cool.
That's amazing. Wow. That's such the, that's the word I'm looking for there. It's like, it's just so grateful that you're doing this in a free, like you're just giving more of yourself, which I just, every time I talk to you and listen to that, it's like you're just constantly giving more of yourself, whether it's your energy, your time, your information, your knowledge. You're just constantly giving. And it's like almost like you don't expect anything in return, except for maybe a smile and a thank you, which is
I,
really amazing, which is, it's, I think we need more people like you out there, Tony. And I just, that's one thing, I was kind of hoping that you were available for the show, because you kind of inspired me when I did the show. And I was like, okay, what kind of topic can we talk about? And it's really becoming, like, we call it spiritual warrior. And it's becoming that. It's like becoming the warrior, not really seeking out war, but it's the war within, and healing that, and just giving back, and being generous and being kind. I just had a wonderful gentleman, Dr. Benante, on there. He's a Buddhist monk. I had him on
mhm.
my show, and we talked about a little bit about that, about constantly about the practice. Well, Taoism and Buddhism is very similar in certain aspects. It's about kindness and generosity and giving. He just gave me some techniques, and he just kind of re-emphasized about that. It's like, and especially now, I think, there's two guys here. We're on the video, and I think there's just not a lot of good quality. This is, one of the things I wanted to put out there, that there really are amazing, mentors out there that are actually guys, and they're willing to put out there, and they're showcasing that we are kind, generous individuals. We're willing to put out, amazing content, help people out there, whether you're a guy or a girl, you're really striving to be an amazing human being, and I so commend you on that too, Tony. Like, it's just like, don't stop giving. Like, really, honestly, brother, do not stop giving. It's just fantastic to see that. So, on that note, my friend, we're almost out of time here. And
What? I thought this was a 3-hour interview.
now, I mean, I thought about doing really long interviews, and I know people's time is precious, and I maybe later, once, if this takes off and I get Joe Rogan viewership, and I get an own studio, and that sort of thing, maybe we can get into the three-hour long videos, and that'd be fantastic. But before we go,
Yeah.
I always ask the people, my guests on the show, just to kind of leave the listeners right now a little piece of inspiration, motivation, a little bit of knowledge bombs that you can just throw on them. Say, listen, okay, this is like your quote for the day, little inspiration. You just leave my guests with something.
All right. Well, it comes from your thought about the warrior. And, I did write a book, Awaken the Warrior Within. And really, I mean, that's what it is. We've all got this superpower within us. We really do. And when I do energy work, the body's a self-healing machine. We just become disconnected, right? The stress, the anxiety, the worry, social media, the media, poison. And what it does is it disconnects us from ourselves. And so when we're doing energy work, all I try to do is flick the switch to let you heal yourself. And I'm saying to people, everybody's got a warrior inside of them. When I got sick and depressed, my warrior was crunched down. And I flew down to California. I saw this guy, Joel Bauer, and he just reached inside of me and he pulled the warrior out. And I went into the washroom and I just bawled my eyes out, because I felt for the first time in years that I did have it still there. And we just need to be reminded of it. So it's in you. You just need to challenge yourself and not lie down and not give up and not blame everybody else for your problems. Take some personal responsibility. When you do, then you can change it yourself. So
Yeah.
that's my final thoughts.
Beautiful. Well said. You're kind of like a Taoist David Goggins. I love that. I
Oh,
love that.
he's a cool guy, man. Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. Like he just has those way of speaking to you, like like when you're having a really crappy day, and you watch one of his videos, it's almost like he was listening to your thoughts and says, okay, this is what I need to do. But awesome, Tony. I so appreciate you being on my show. I really appreciate all the things that you're doing. So one last time, so if somebody wants to pick up your book, wants to find you on the web, where can they find you?
Just go to my site, feelfullyaliveagain.com. Feelfullyaliveagain.com. I'm like on Facebook, I'm Feel Fully Alive Again. And on Instagram, I'm Feel Fully Alive Again. So you'll find me.
Okay, fantastic. So I really appreciate that, Tony. Just continue being you, Tony, like, showing the world out there, being that spiritual warrior, going out there, being kind, generous, and just healing everybody out there. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. You're listening to the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.